In this video, I'm going to discuss the average retirement savings at age 60, and in the process, take some of the mystery out of all of the numbers you're seeing from various institutions like mutual funds and the federal government. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
So you're 60, and maybe you're almost ready for retirement. Or maybe it's 3 to 5 years out, maybe a little bit more because of the inflationary environment we've all been in. Whatever your situation is, this video will help give you a good benchmark on where others your age sit in terms of retirement savings. It's a good question, of course, because the average 60-year-old and the savings that the average 60-year-old possesses varies wildly depending on how much they've saved and how they've lived their lives. Some have faced financial hardships and haven't saved at all. Others have had a very profitable time in the workforce. They're high earners, they're big earners, and they've managed to save a lot. So where do you stand? First, let's talk about the available data out there. There's very reliable data that comes from the government. There's less reliable data, and that data might come from mutual funds. But the one that most people cite is the Federal Reserve Board Survey of Consumer Finances, the FRB SCF. This data comes out every 3 years, and the Federal Reserve Board takes a lot of time to gather this data to make sure that it's representative of the entire country. There are 1,100 respondents in the data, and it's a well-diversified group of people. The last one that came out was just released in November of 2023. It's about as current as you're going to get, and that represents data from 2022. But if you just looked at this raw data, you wouldn't really know what it meant, simply because there's a lot of ways to look at information. Now, the data we're going to talk about is household data, so the data per household, and it's provided two ways: the mean, or the average, and the median, or the midpoint, the amount exactly in the middle, the family right in the middle. And then last, we're going to go off of the FRB survey and talk about the mode. This comes from Pew Research. The mode is simply the number that appears the most times in a data set. To illustrate this point, let's look at a tiny set of 401k holders, and let's assume that this set of people illustrates what the FRB data actually shows. And in that tiny set, you have 5 different people, 5 different families. Family number 1 has $2 million in their 401k. Family number 2 has $1 million in their 401k. Now, I will say family number 1 and family number 2 are definitely not representative of the world we live in, but let's assume that they're huge earners and they save a lot. Family number 3, let's assume that they have $200,000 in the 401k. Family number 4, let's say $50,000, and family number 5, that family has $5,000. So together, all 5 families have $3,255,000. If you divide that by 5, that will give you a mean number, an average number of, wait for it, $651,000. Now, the problem with this is that you've got number 1 and number 2 that skew everything upward. The better number is number 3. That's the median. That is the point right in the middle, and that's $200,000. And you can see that that's a huge difference between the mean and the median, and that's the problem when you use averages, because you have 1 or 2 data points that throw everything off. Now, there is one other number that's supremely important, but it's not in the FRB data. It does come from Pew Research, and Pew Research has data on baby boomers and what percentage of baby boomers at age 65 go into retirement with less than $10,000. And the number is 49% have less than $10,000. So the mean, 651,000, the median 200,000, and the mode 10,000, less than 10,000. Now, technically less than 10,000 isn't an exact number, but for this discussion, let's assume that it's directionally correct because it is directionally correct. By the way, these numbers in this example aren't vastly different than the actual numbers from the most recent Federal Reserve Board's Survey of Consumer Finances. That's on purpose. The FRB SCF polls about 11,000 respondents, and that's considered statistically significant. The actual numbers are average retirement savings by age 55 to 64, so it shows a range, a 10-year range, $538,000. The median retirement savings by age 55 to 64 is $185,000. And of course, we already talked about the mode, which is $10,000 or less. First, let's all admit that those are pretty sobering statistics, and assuming that you're not in the less than $10,000 camp, you're doing better than about 50% of the country. Also, for clarity here, this isn't per 401k, this is retirement savings. So when the FRB went out to the households and they polled them on what the retirement savings was per household, they added up all of the 401ks and said this is the total per household of their retirement savings. It does not include things like pensions and other savings though. But what do financial experts say that you should have? Well, if you're age 60, you should have approximately 8 to 10 times your annual salary. So if your annual salary is $50,000, well, you should have $400,000 in savings. But yet, it looks like the vast majority of the country does not have $400,000 in savings if they make $50,000 a year. Of course, the number goes up higher the more one earns going into retirement. So first, take a deep breath because that 8 to 10x number is a little bit misleading, at least for a lot of people. It assumes some things that probably aren't true for the vast majority of the country. Otherwise, we would have a huge problem with retirees as they enter retirement. But here's the reality. By the time you retire, many of your expenses are either drastically reduced or they've gone away. Take your mortgage, for example. A lot of people enter retirement mortgage-free. Not everybody. 40% plus have a mortgage, but assuming you're not part of that group, well, you're entering retirement without a mortgage payment. You also don't have work-related expenses like commuting, clothes for work, and lunches away from the house, to name a few. And you may find that many of life's big expenses have been taken care of. For example, a wedding, or college education for your kids, or elder care if you're caring for your parents. Also, many of your day-to-day expenses will go way down. Commuting should go down. Clothes should go down. And other expenses just go way down because you have less bodies in the house. For example, a vacation for a family of 5 is a lot more expensive than a vacation for a family of 2 or 1, depending on your situation. The same thing holds true if you're dining out. Many retirees find that they enjoy spending time with family or gardening or really inexpensive hobbies rather than engaging in expensive hobbies, like car collecting, for example. While the 8x rule is a good rule, some retirement households find that a 4x rule or less is perfectly acceptable because of the way the household lives its life at that point in time. Additionally, many retirees choose to downsize their home. They move to areas that are less expensive. They move into houses that are less expensive to maintain. Their utility bills are lower, and the upkeep is lower as well. Some take on part-time jobs, they consult, they do other things to fill their time as much as anything else, but it's enough to help balance the expenses that they're seeing on a day-to-day basis. But assuming you're still working at age 60 and you're planning what to do for the next 2, 3, 5 plus years to boost your station in life, there's some things that you should focus in on. Obviously, the big one is working on your retirement savings and increasing it. Now that the board is clear, let's talk about ways to boost your income. The first is obvious. If you're due a raise, make sure that you let those that provide the raise know that you're interested in your raise. The second is part-time work. This is something that a lot of people do just for the sole purpose of boosting or building additional income to save. The third is turning a hobby into a part-time job. Again, something that you love to do and you're good at might be the perfect opportunity to increase your savings. One that comes to mind for me, for example, is I love coin collecting. I know that's a little geeky, but if you're good at coin collecting, you can buy low and sell high. It may take a few years to do it, but if you're good at it, well, it's something to consider. Additionally, there are some things that you can do that don't involve generating additional income. One is delaying retirement. Now, I know that that's it's a 5-letter word. It's not a 4-letter word, but let's assume for a second that delaying or delay is a 4-letter word. It is an option because for every year that you wait is a year more that you can save and a year less that you're drawing from your retirement savings. The same holds true delaying taking Social Security. The longer you wait up to a certain point, the larger your payment becomes. And if you're going to do all of this in terms of building additional income, make sure that you use your tax advantaged accounts and you take advantage of your catch-up contributions that are available in your 401k and to a lesser degree in an IRA. The important point to remember here is it's never too late to improve your financial situation. Whether you're 5 years out or you're already retired, there are things that you can do to improve where you are today for a better tomorrow. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. The number of likes a video gets helps raise the video in the search results, and I want to help as many people as possible. Also, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you click subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. I post once or twice a week. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.